the fuck?
I'm so sorry!
Fuck you! Stupid fucking asswipe! Get the hell back here! If you can't drive, you should go home where you belong!
Hey, that's my car!
You smash up my car, I'm gonna smash up yours! Look at my fucking car! Hey, you're gonna pay me for that!
Leave me alone!
You're not going anywhere until you pay me for this!
Help me! Somebody! He's crazy!
Freeze! You'll never take me alive!
Damn it! He killed himself!
Ah, home sweet home, my favorite cocoon. Nothing like watching New Jersey in action. I should probably get back in the house though before I automatically become a suspect for some reason.
Hey! You in the first suit! Go back in the house right now before I arrest you!
It's been quite some time, hasn't it, people? What has it been? About over a year? Maybe 7 months if you count the expedition that Ray took? Well, either way, it's been quite some time. How have you been? Uh-huh. Oh, really? Oh, wow. Anyways, I figure it's about that time y'all deserve an episode. So, let's start.
Is that seriously how you're gonna start after being hidden under the limelight for over a year?
The early 1990s was a pretty interesting time for gaming. The SNES just declared a victory over the Sega Genesis, though barely. The early 90s also proved to be an innovative time for the game industry, as the idea to make 3D games was becoming more and more of a reality. However, most companies couldn't keep up, especially ones that went down with their consoles, like the Atari with their Jaguar. However, behind the scenes, there was a man, and with his company, that developed a console that might have proved to be the SNES and Genesis' first real big competition. Yes, that guy. Trip Hopkins, the founder of EA and what would soon be the 3DO company, was growing tired of the cartridge-based games of the 80s. He was growing tired of its limitations and incompatibilities that the hardware had, and he had every right to be disappointed with it. They were strict, limited, and were pretty expensive for its time. As a simple example, the cost to develop a simple SNES cartridge was around $15 to $30 per cartridge. And let's not forget, companies like Nintendo and Sega had to create hundreds and thousands of all these cartridges to sell across all these stores around the country, maybe even around the world. And when you keep in mind that companies like EA had to pay hella royalties to even have their games be developed on the fucking Genesis and SNES, they might as well just give up right now, because it's only a matter of time before they get their asses handed back to them on a plate. Trip Hawkins was sick of it. Something had to give. So, inspired by a wall art he saw outside of Apple computer that had two vultures telling each other to kill instead of scavenge, he developed the 3DO company. But when he developed it, no one wanted to check for it. Why the hell would game developers want to work with something that just started, that was unknown, and the only thing it got for it was that it was ran by Trip Hopkins? They wanted to stick with the SNES and the Genesis because at least they were established and known. Nintendo and Sega were companies that worked. When developing the 3DO, Trip Hopkins wanted to make sure that the console beat the Genesis and the SNES in every which way possible. They didn't just develop games, but games on CD. And as for the infamous royalty issue, developers only had to pay a meager $3. In every which way, the console was technically superior than the SNES and the Genesis. So why did no one sign up on it? In one of the most damning cases, Sony refused to sign up on the 3DO because they were busy working on a little console known as the PlayStation. Trip Hopkins even went to Sega, their arch rival, to have serious talks about teaming up together. However, like Sony, Sega also passed up on it, though this time it was because of the costs. Remember this. However, the companies that did work on him were Toshiba, Samsung, and even AT&T. AT&T even made their own console. Yes, the AT&T company that makes their phones made a console of their own 3DO, but it was never released. With all those unique team-ups, especially with independent manufacturers, the console became exceptionally and strangely expensive, so Trip Hopkins had to make a decision. Profit off the console itself, a strategy that no company of that time, and even companies nowadays, dare to do. Even companies like Sony sell their consoles at a loss. So why did Trip Hopkins do this? Well, he thought that the software sales would have made up for the money. So, my fellow friend, you might be wondering, how much did the 3DO cost? Come closer. Come a bit closer. $700! And when adjusted for inflation, that's $1,567.19! Such a price was unheard of during this time. Even in 2025, no main console costs as high as that. The latest console to pull such a stunt, quote unquote, the latest, was the PlayStation 3 in 2006, and that was $599. And even then, they made a slim model that was only $299. Because if you have common sense, you will know that that model doesn't work. Okay, let me chill. Maybe, perhaps, when the console launched, things were actually good. And to be fair, they kinda were. The commercials for it were pretty damning. Here's one of them.
If you're not playing on a 3DO system, what are you playing with? Presenting 3DO. The most advanced home gaming system in the universe. It's time to put away your toys.
The advertisements for this console were pretty genius, to be fair. These commercials had a lot of console war elements put into it, calling the SNES and the Genesis toys, which would excite the average child watching that commercial. They want to have the best of the best. But what does the child get for paying for a 3DO via the blood of a lamb? Well, my fine viewer, do you want to know how many games that the console launched with? It launched with one! The child had to be stuck with Crash and Burn for the 3DO on Christmas Day, and they'd play on it for 10 minutes before they went back to their SNES or Genesis, or the 3DO was their only console. If that was the case, that child was depressed on Christmas Day. Thanks, Mom and Dad! I have never heard of a game company launch a console with one game and get away with it. And the 3DO did that. Almost. Believe it or not, it was actually Time Magazine's product of the year in 1993, and the console actually ended up selling around 2 million units, which is pretty decent for a first-time console. So how did the console fail? Well, if it wasn't obvious for the fact that it only had one game and it launched at $699, there was another company that also did not help the situation. The PlayStation literally came out the year after the 3DO, was a CD-based console, and was more than half the price of the 3DO, only $299. And over time, the console would have games like Crash, Tomb Raider, Metal Gear, Ridge Racer, Spyro, so many instant classics for the console that the gamer would choose a PlayStation over the 3DO right away. Especially considering that over time, the PS1 would have a slim model that was even cheaper. As for the 3DO, to my knowledge, it never had a slim model. The cheapest price it went for was $499. It's a shame that the 3DO went down the path it went, because over time, even though it was late in its lifetime, the console ended up having games that one simply can't scoff at, like Wing Commander, Samurai Showdown, Need for Speed, Street Fighter 2, Wolfenstein 3D, and even something like Gex. After the Saturn and N64 came out, the writing was on the wall, and Trip Hopkins knew that they couldn't continue this any further, and discontinued the console in 1996, 3 years after the console released. So, did Trip Hopkins learn his lesson? No. Trip Hopkins is still Trip Hopkins, and EA is still EA. Good on them. Now, what's the moral of the story? Broccoli is never overhated.
That's not even related to the video!
I'll give the 3DO credit where credit is due. Without the 3DO, I doubt the gaming industry would be the way it is today, because the 3DO managed to do something innovative. Push the industry closer to CD gaming. Other than that, the 3DO sucks! So, thank you guys for watching, comment, subscribe, and now if you'll excuse me, I actually got a 3DO, and I'm about to play it, and review its console startup. That was the startup. I could have taken a shit faster than that!